January 29, 2011, 6 p.m. What happens when a young woman, several months pregnant, disappears without a trace, leaving only a series of chilling Facebook messages and a web of lies behind? Decker, a student at George Mason University, went missing after a routine call to her job. But when her friends received strange Facebook messages from her weeks later, it was clear something wasn't right. Was she running away? Or was this the work of someone closer to her than anyone could have imagined? Join us as we unravel the disturbing twists and turns that led to one shocking discovery after another. Where are you watching from? Let me know in the comments below. Bethany Decker was a 22-year-old student at George Mason University in Fairfax, Virginia. A young woman full of potential, she had dreams for her future, and, despite the unexpected second-time pregnancy, she was determined to make it all work. Living in Ashburn, Virginia, with her husband, Decker balanced her studies, work at a local restaurant, and the excitement of preparing for the arrival of her baby. Her friends and family described her as sweet, caring, and a hard worker, someone with a strong sense of responsibility, even at such a young age. Decker's life was full of promise, and the anticipation of becoming a mother for the second time seemed to only add to the joy in her life. But, tragically, her bright future was cut short by an unknown fate. In the weeks leading up to her disappearance, Decker was caught up in the rhythms of everyday life. Between work and school, she was busy, but she always made time to keep her life organized. On January 29, the last day anyone saw her, she called her workplace to confirm her schedule for the coming week, just as she always did. Little did anyone know, that call would be the last time she was ever heard from. January 29, 2011, Decker calls the restaurant where she worked, confirming her schedule for the upcoming week. She tells her co-workers that everything is fine, sounding just like her usual self, no signs of distress or anything out of the ordinary. Later that evening, she is seen by both her husband and her boyfriend, Ronald Roldan, who both claim she was at home, and everything seemed completely normal. But something was off. By February 2011, 3 weeks after her disappearance, Decker's friends begin receiving strange messages from her Facebook account. At first, they seem like they're from Decker, but something doesn't sit right. The tone is different, the words feel distant, almost as if they were written by someone else. This raises suspicions among her friends, and suddenly, the questions begin. Was she really okay? Or was someone impersonating her online? Decker's family, especially her mother, grows increasingly worried when Decker doesn't respond to her calls or texts. Something isn't right. They file a missing person report, and the search begins in earnest. At first, the police have little to go on. There's no sign of foul play, no immediate clues. The case seems like a possible runaway situation. But as the days drag on, the strange messages and her sudden withdrawal from the life she once knew raise red flags. There's something more to this. The mystery deepens, and Decker's fate becomes even more uncertain. The investigation into Decker's disappearance begins with an examination of her social media accounts. The strange Facebook messages she sent to her friends raise immediate suspicion, something about them doesn't feel right. Law enforcement begins tracing the messages, attempting to determine their origin, while also questioning everyone close to Decker to uncover any possible leads. Police dive into a detailed forensic analysis. They look at Decker's phone records, hoping to find some clue, any clue, that could lead to her whereabouts. They also search for CCTV footage from the restaurant where she worked, hoping to uncover something that could help. But despite their efforts, no immediate breakthrough comes. Still, one thing becomes clear: this case is far from simple. One of the biggest challenges investigators face is the lack of physical evidence. With no body, no clear motive, and conflicting statements, the case feels like a puzzle with missing pieces. Every lead seems to slip away, and the truth becomes increasingly elusive. Without any concrete evidence, the police are left to sift through the web of details and contradictions surrounding Decker's life and her relationships. Decker's personal life is brought into the spotlight. Both her husband and her boyfriend, Ronald Roldan, tell contrasting stories of the last time they saw her. While they both claim she was fine, their statements don't entirely match up, and there are hints from friends that Decker may have been conflicted about her relationships. Was she unhappy? Was there something more going on? As the investigation progresses, both men are looked at as possible suspects. The husband, while Decker's husband, Emil, the father of the couple's young son, was serving duty in Afghanistan, Decker began a relationship with a man she met at work, Ronald Roldan. He moved in with Decker, but her family said Roland was physically abusive and she was scared. Her mother said they were in the midst of coming up with an escape plan for her daughter when she went missing. According to his attorney, Decker's husband, Emil, knew of the affair his wife began with Roland while he was gone. Shortly before Decker disappeared, the couple traveled Hawaii to try to patch things up. However, upon their return, only days later, Decker didn't show up to see her husband off for his return to Afghanistan. During the initial investigation into his wife's disappearance, his lawyer says the husband returned stateside, took a polygraph and underwent hours of interrogation. Though he maintains a more distant emotional presence in the case. However, he does have a solid alibi for the day Decker went missing, which leaves the investigators with more questions than answers. Ronald Roldan, a person of interest due to his proximity to Decker, his inconsistent statements, and his troubled past, is closely scrutinized. Ronald Roldan, born in Bolivia, immigrated to the United States and settled in Virginia, where he became involved in a series of troubling incidents. Before his involvement with Bethany, Roldan had a history of violent behavior. In 2014, after Decker's disappearance, he moved to Pinehurst, North Carolina, to be with his then-girlfriend, Vicki Willoughby. Their relationship became abusive, culminating in a violent incident where Roldan assaulted Willoughby, leading her to shoot him in self-defense. Despite her injuries, Roldan gained control of the firearm and shot Willoughby 3 times, resulting in the loss of one of her eyes. Willoughby survived and was not charged, as her actions were deemed self-defense. Roldan was arrested and charged with multiple offenses, including attempted murder. Vicki gave detectives heart-pounding information. She told the officers, "Ronald told me he could make people disappear." The case remains at a standstill, with everyone involved hiding something, but nothing concrete to point to the truth. The investigation takes a major turn when a breakthrough connects Ronald Roldan's past to Decker's disappearance. With investigators learning of Roldan's criminal history, including serving time for an assault charge in North Carolina. What seemed like a distant lead now takes on new significance. Roldan had been in the area around the time Decker went missing. As detectives trace the odd Facebook messages that were sent from Decker's account, they begin to find something chilling. The messages were traced back to a location near Roldan's known whereabouts. But that wasn't the only piece of the puzzle. Forensic analysis uncovers crucial evidence, phone records that show Roldan attempted to contact Decker multiple times before her disappearance. His attempts to reach her raise suspicions, especially given that she had stopped responding to everyone else. The pieces begin to fall into place, and the investigation starts to shift in Roldan's direction. Discrepancies in Roldan's alibi also come to light, further intensifying the focus on him. The carefully constructed story he told authorities starts to unravel, and investigators begin to see the signs that they had been looking for all along. What seemed like a series of coincidences is now too significant to ignore. With these new revelations, the investigation takes a decisive turn, and the case of Decker's disappearance begins to reveal its dark truths. After serving time for the assault on Willoughby, Roldan was extradited back to Virginia in 2020, where he was charged with abduction concerning Bethany Decker's disappearance. Despite the mounting evidence against him, he initially denies any involvement in her disappearance. However, as the case progresses, it becomes clear that his story doesn't add up. The evidence, from his phone records to the Facebook messages, all points to him, and he is unable to explain the growing pile of incriminating details. The trial begins in 2022, and Roldan, now facing the weight of the evidence, he agreed to a plea deal with prosecutors. As part of a plea deal, Roldan agreed to go on the record with his account of the murder. He claims they got into an argument in their Ashburn apartment, and he pushed her. She fell and hit her head on a windowsill. He claims he checked for signs of life, but she was dead. He says he got scared, panicked, and never called 911. He says he put her body into a Christmas tree disposal bag and dumped her in the trash compactor at their complex. The courtroom is filled with tension as the prosecution presents its case, pointing to Roldan's violent history and his controlling behavior towards Decker. The motive behind the crime is discussed in detail, how his obsession with her, combined with a past filled with aggression, may have driven him to take drastic measures. Yet, despite the plea, there remains a haunting question that no one can answer: what happened to Decker's body? Roldan's plea results in a 12.5-year sentence, with all but 12.5 years suspended, meaning he would serve the full sentence. A grim outcome that delivers some semblance of justice. But for Decker's family, it's far from the closure they long for. The fact that Decker's body has never been found lingers heavily in their hearts. Without the opportunity to lay her to rest, their grief remains unresolved. In a heart-wrenching statement, Decker's family expresses the pain of their loss and their ongoing hope. They hold on to the hope that, one day, her body will be found, allowing them to finally give her a proper burial, something every family deserves. Until then, they remain haunted by the unanswered questions surrounding her tragic fate. Decker's case serves as a chilling reminder of the complexities involved in missing persons investigations, particularly when the victim's body is never recovered. The investigation unearthed disturbing truths about her relationships and the individuals closest to her, but it also left many questions unanswered. The search for Decker's body remains at the forefront of her family's grief, and the case continues to haunt them, as they seek closure that may never come. What do you think about this case? Share your thoughts below. Do you think 12.5 years is enough sentenced for Roldan? And why do criminals get a lesser sentence after a plea deal? If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more true crime stories. Thanks for watching, and stay safe.